In this next part of the video, we're going to be looking at 1.1.7. The 1.1.7 is the generalizing of closing transfers. Here, your knowledge of from accounting, financial accounting, school knowledge, accounting is going to really help you. Having said that, I will be failing if I do not explain a few things. One, in this question paper, they want you to close off the drawings account. Now, you will need to understand and take a step back that drawings has a debit balance. In order to close it off, you will credit drawings. So you then the debit and the credit will result in a nil balance of the drawings account. And because it's to do with the owner, that amount gets transferred to the capital account. By placing it on the debit side, you will notice that the balance of the capital account being owner's equity will decrease. In the same way now, let's look at net profit. Net profit will have a credit balance. To close it off, we will have to debit net profit. In our case, it will be retained income. So you debit retained income and you credit capital. By crediting capital being owner's equity, you increase your capital. Remember, the owner gains, increases capital. Capital gets increased when there's a profit. So, having said that, I'm now going to proceed to use a general journal. Go to general ledger. It's going to select the correct journal. Then I'm going to now look at my settings to ensure it's this year. Why did I say this year? Because in my question paper, November 2024, 1.1.7 says, use the general journal to journalize the closing transfers of drawings and net profit on 31 May 2022. That means period 1 of this year. So it also says your first reference must start with CTS 01. First reference must start with CTS 01. That is your hint to say that you need to increment your references. So I'm going to now change this. You're not compelled to, but you could. And I'm going to click close. So by default, I'm on period 1. And you will notice that the date is there, 31/05/22. The general ledger account to debit would be capital. And you know that capital, if you want, you can click F5 or search. And remember, capital is 5,000. So I'm going to debit capital. My reference there is going to be, as stated in the question paper, CT S01, and the description here will be something that will make sense. And in my opinion, the best way to state that will be closing, because it is a closing transfer of drawings. And as mentioned, this is your capital. The amount must always, always by default appear on the debit column. So you then enter the amount. In order to get the amount, you will have to go back to page 6 and you'll notice that drawings was 65,500. So that means I'm debiting capital. And my contra account now will be drawings. In this case, it's going to be 5100. So let's understand what is going on here. this account becomes debited, which is capital, and the contra account becomes the credit account. Enter, we go to the next line, and now we need to close up that net profit. And as I stated earlier, net profit has a credit balance or retained income. You now debit it to close it off. So we're going to debit retained income and learn from it. There it is. And automatically, because we selected increment references, it has changed to O2, CTS O2. You get a mark for that. And now closing transfer of not drawings anymore, but of net profit or retained income, whatever you want to call it. Then you still maintain that the amount must be on the debit side. So if you recall, that retained income was 128,000, and there's now that's important. Make sure that you capture correctly, not 12,800, 128,000, and that your contra account, as we recall, is going to be capital. So that's going to be the credit account. Now, because it's adjustments, you have to have a contra account. You have to. And you'll notice that it won't be in balance because it's not opening balances. So those are the two entries that you'll need to update, because on 1.1.8 it says update the general journal to the general ledger. Do not back up before updating. However, we need to be mindful. They also mentioned in 1.1.7, the last line, do not print this journal. So you don't print it. And remember to always come on the third line, the line below the last line, which is entry of line 2. We now go to line 3 and wait there, which means line 1 and 2 has been accepted by Pastel. So do not print this journal and rather update. So ensure that you follow that instructions. I'm going to update this journal, and I've updated it now. What do they want for 6 marks? They're saying print the general ledger, detailed ledger of the capital account for period 1 of this year. Print the general ledger. So where do we find the general ledger? You've got to look at view, and you look at general ledger. Now we're going to look for a specific account, capital account. So you'll need to look at transactions, detailed ledger, and we're now going to find the share capital or capital account. So we need to search for this account, because by default it shows 0001 through 999, which is all accounts. So just select your capital account 5,000 and make sure that's 5,000. And then we know it's going to be period 1, because the requirement period 1, and period end was going to be also period 1. And it's going to screen, so let us see what this is all about, and wait for it. And there is your general ledger, detailed ledger of the capital account. If you read carefully on 1.1.9, it says print the general ledger, GL, detailed ledger. There it says detailed ledger for the period 1, which is May, and the account is going to be capital. Now, if you recall, we had an opening balance of capital, and we then put some movements, which was the transfer of drawings, and we also have that's about all. We now can close this account. This is your retained income. We then can close it. Before we close it, in this case here, they want us to print it. So we need to click print and print it. There you go. Okay. Now, I want to show you that entry again. Let's go again. Got view. We updated it. Got general ledger. Got transactions. There's our detailed ledger. Click on detailed ledger as mentioned in the question paper. Find the account that we're looking for, capital, and your period is going to period 1, and by default it is paid this year. And we click OK, and this is the share cap, the capital account. We then click print, and we print our document, and that's when they award us 6 marks. If again, feel free to ask and work hard and review often. These videos are there for you to practice upon, to use it to your advantage. Thank you for listening.